So I didn't plan on doing a video for these shoes, but I did post one picture in collaboration with WearTesters on Instagram, and seems like a lot of you all are interested, so here we go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another WearTesters video. My name is Jalik, and today we are taking a detailed look and review at the Nike NikeCourt NXT for hardcourt, also known as the NikeCourt Zoom NXT. A lot easier to say. So this here is a tennis shoe, as in it's made for tennis, not just a general sneaker or anything like that. I personally don't play tennis. However, I know some tennis shoes translate pretty well over to the basketball court. I like the specs that I saw with these. There's a lot of specs and tech that come from basketball shoes that we're used to from Nike. So I thought I'd give them a quick try and see if they'd be worth any more of my time on a basketball court. I'm going to try to give some small tidbits as far as my relatively small experience with these on the basketball court, let you know some of the things that I liked or seemed promising, some of the things I didn't like so much, and at the end of the video kind of give you a conclusion on whether I will continue playing basketball in these or not. Starting off with the outsole on these, we basically have a evolutionized waffle pattern. Lately, Nike has been calling everything data driven. However, what I see when I look at it is the waffle pattern, just kind of a modern version of it. So that's what I'm gonna call it. I know a few others are calling it that as well. For those of you tennis athletes out there, you already know hard court is basically a specific type of court that you play on. To my understanding, is basically between that and what they call a clay court. This outsole is designed for the hard court, not the clay court. But as far as my experience on the basketball court with it, I wasn't on necessarily the best court. It's not very well kept. It's not even actually hardwood floors. It's kind of just a coated concrete, but my experience shooting around in them, nothing too intense, but trying to purposely make some lateral movements, some cuts, different things like that. The bike was pretty good on them. I would assume with it being designed for hard courts, it's going to be pretty durable and should work well outdoors as well if you do decide that you want to play basketball in them. And then for your typical hardwood floors or just wood floors in general, playing basketball, maybe they'll be okay, maybe they won't. They would definitely need to be tested further for anyone to give an opinion on that, whether that's myself or anyone else. On the midsole, we have what I believe is just a basic EVA. I'm not even sure if it's injected file line or if it's compression molded. I'm leaning towards injection molded, however it is very dense. That EVA runs full length in the shoe, and in the forefoot we actually have a Zoom turbo unit. So it's not like a forefoot Zoom Strobel, just a turbo unit, something you would see in the Kyrie 5, 6, 7, as well as the Kobe 5 Protro and the Kobe 6 Protro with Nike. Court feel is good in these, not the most court feel I've ever experienced, but certainly not the worst with all that zoom in the forefoot. So it's gonna be a nice balance that you have in the forefoot. As far as what I can feel from the zoom, honestly, upon initial try on, I really couldn't feel it all that well, but I did notice as time went on while I was shooting around in these, I could kind of feel a little bit more feedback the longer I shot around, and it is actually easier now when I try the shoe on to feel the Zoom Strobel. Excuse me, Zoom Turbo. Overall, I would say I do think these are going to break in nicely. However, don't expect so much of that in the heel section of the shoe. Like I said, it's a very dense file line. You're not really getting too much out of it. It's pretty dead, honestly, but comfortable enough for the sport of basketball where you should be on your forefoot anyway. If you do happen to be a heavy heel striker, these probably wouldn't be the best option for you as far as basketball goes. For tennis, I'm not sure how things work. I would assume there's not too much falling back on your heels, but at the same time probably is required a little bit more than it is in a sport like basketball. Materials on the shoes are pretty interesting as well. I know a lot of people were saying it gives them vibes of like the Nike Kobe 7, but what the upper mainly consists of is a lino weave upper, and that is actually backed by a padded textile. It kind of looks quilted, so it's a very cool design element, and it is also very comfortable on foot. This is coupled with a neoprene half booty construction, which basically makes up the tongue area. You do have those little cables that I know Chris and a lot of us don't really care for so much as far as durability goes. I've had other shoes with this since, but the first thing I'm thinking about is the Air Jordan 34 lacing system. So that's what you have for the eyelets, just the little thin cables. I will say they feel like they've been heated or something to that extent, so they kind of have a stiffness to them. Hopefully that does add to some durability and that they won't rip off or anything. Around the collar, you actually don't have a ton of sculpting, but you do have a little bit basically right at the top of the collar. We'll get into more of the heel lining and stuff later on in the support section, but for the heel and tongue pull tabs, you have some very thick rope lace-like materials. As you should be able to see on the heel, they're actually stitched down pretty hard, and wrapping around the heel you have a synthetic material. It actually is pressed just slightly, I think, to kind of mimics like I'm not sure. Like, I want to say a basketball, but obviously it's not for that. It's definitely not mimicking a tennis ball as far as the texture goes. Maybe the court, maybe the hard court, or certain types of hard courts, I'm not sure. But that section of the shoe is basically fused into the upper and also stitched down, and that fuse basically carries all the way around to the eyelet section, not the actual eyelets themselves, but just that section, just to kind of break things up a little bit. I do want to acknowledge the embroidered swoosh. I think it's cool that they embroidered it, but I'm sure because they embroidered it, they had to make it a smaller swoosh. They can't just embroider a huge check on the side of the shoe. I mean, they can, but they won't, just for cost cutting measures. But yeah, I wish it was a little bit bigger swoosh, at least on the lateral side. Medial side is basically the same size. I'd be fine with that. But when you're all about marketing and branding and you put these oversized swooshes on everything, I like to see more of it. I also can't forget, from a performance perspective, you do basically have a toe drag area. This is a very rubberized material going around the toe, so that's going to add some durability against this lino weave textile. And there is a little bit of fuse reinforcement going across both the lateral and the medial sides. As far as the fit goes on these are just a touch longer than I would prefer. I am curious to see how the fit is a half size down. However, I've had a little bit of trouble getting my hands on a pair or my feet in a pair of a half size down, size 11 for me. So what I recommend is, if you do prefer a little bit of space, no matter what sport you're playing, if you do prefer a little bit of space at the front of the toe, a little bit of wiggle room, true to size should be okay. But if you are looking for the most snug and secure feeling fit, probably a half size down would be the way to go. Wide footers, I would probably recommend that you try these in stores if you can. If you are wide footer and you go true to size, I think the upper will probably be able to handle everything okay, but I'm not sure with the fly plate implementation how that will work, especially if you have like a flatter foot. But speaking of the fly plate, we'll go ahead and get into support. So if you notice, this looks very Jordan 34, 35 like. It basically is a modified version of Jordan's Eclipse plate. However, Nike is calling it the fly plate. I will say it's not as wide as something you might see on the Jordan 34, 35. And by that, I mean it's not going to come up like super crazy on the side, on the medial side, especially around the arch area. So I don't know how it's going to work for some people. For me, it didn't seem to be a problem at all. I didn't feel restricted or any pain or aches or anything like that from the plate, and it does seem like it provides adequate torsional support. Another area of support that I want to talk about is the heel. There is an internal heel counter here. However, there's not a lot of sculpting around it, so I was having some trouble with heel lockdown and just feeling secure in the shoe in general. The heel is lined with the textile, but as far as actual padding goes, it's pretty much just this turquoise area that you have up at the collar. There's not really anything going on besides just the lining material against the heel counter here. This is one of the reasons why I'm curious how a half size down would fit for me, just because I didn't like the space that I felt in the heel area there. But I'm also wondering, if I go down a half size, is it going to be too harsh with my heel pressed up against not much padding or, you know, cushion around that area. So if I get the chance to try them on in a half size down, of course, I will try to follow up somehow with you guys on it. But for right now, not really digging it so much. The insole is just a typical ortholite. I know that's not really a support feature, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about it while I was looking in that area. And overall, that's about all that I have for the NikeCourt Zoom NXT. Also, I guess officially known as the Nike Zoom Court NXT hard court. Yeah, we'll just keep going with NikeCourt Zoom NXT. Overall, as I've kind of hinted to, if I can't get these in a half size down, or if I get them and I don't feel much more comfortable with them, I really don't plan on playing any basketball in these. The fit just isn't really my jam. I'm not comfortable with the heel lockdown, so I'm apprehensive as far as playing intensely on a court, full court, 5v5, things like that. And I don't know anything about playing tennis, so that's just my opinion. But if you are interested in a shoe, trying it out for tennis or for basketball, you are definitely more than welcome to, and you can actually let us know what you think. We love to know what you guys think. This does retail for $160. We will link you if you are interested in checking them out. And with all that being said, pretty much takes care of things here. My name is Jalik. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. Till the next time I see y'all, take care of yourselves, take care of one another. Leak out.